Disney has officially released the trailer for its upcoming live-action Snow White. But instead of captivating audiences, it has sparked a wave of controversy that seems impossible to ignore. Rachel Zegler, the star of this feminist reimagining, has been at the center of heated debates due to her past controversial statements, divisive interviews, and polarizing PR blunders. The film has made sweeping changes to the original 1937 classic, which has left longtime fans fuming and critics questioning Disney's creative direction. What was once a beloved tale of love, courage, and hope has now become an agenda-driven spectacle devoid of the charm and heart that made the original so special. One of the most significant changes is the removal of the seven dwarfs as we knew them. In their place are CGI characters that fail to capture the essence of the originals. These characters lack the distinct personalities and heartfelt charm that made the original dwarfs unforgettable. Fans are calling this decision a lazy attempt to replace real actors with lifeless digital creations in the name of political correctness. Social media is flooded with comments from angry fans asking why Disney couldn't modernize the dwarfs while maintaining their essence. Instead, they delivered CGI stand-ins that many feel are disrespectful to the original story and its legacy. The prince, once a symbol of love, devotion, and the driving force behind the original Snow White story, is conspicuously absent. Rachel Zegler's public comments dismissing the prince as unnecessary and labeling him a stalker have clearly influenced Disney's decision to minimize his role. This change has enraged fans who argue that the prince is not only central to the story, but also represents hope, love, and partnership in the face of adversity. Without the prince, fans are asking, what is Snow White even fighting for? Removing such a pivotal character diminishes the emotional stakes of the story and leaves audiences wondering if Disney has lost touch with what made fairy tales timeless. The portrayal of Snow White herself has also undergone a dramatic transformation, and not necessarily for the better. In the original tale, Snow White was a beacon of kindness, grace, and quiet strength. Her vulnerability and resilience were her greatest assets, inspiring those around her. But in this new version, Disney has replaced these traits with a brash, overly confident character whose mission to reclaim her kingdom feels hollow and forced. Rachel Zegler's girl boss version of Snow White may align with modern feminist ideals, but it strips away the nuanced femininity that made the original character relatable and beloved. Fans are also criticizing Disney for its over-reliance on CGI. The original Snow White was a groundbreaking masterpiece, celebrated for its hand-drawn animation and emotional depth. This live-action remake, however, feels anything but alive. The trailer is drenched in CGI, from the forests to the dwarfs to the magical elements. Instead of enhancing the story, these visuals create a cold, lifeless atmosphere that fails to connect with viewers. Many have compared the trailer to a video game cutscene, pointing out that it lacks the warmth and artistry of the 1937 classic. The infamous kiss that awakens Snow White, a defining moment in the original story, has also been notably absent from the trailer. This omission has not gone unnoticed by fans. Critics of the original film have labeled the kiss problematic and non-consensual, but longtime fans argue that this moment is central to the narrative and a symbol of selfless love. By removing the kiss, Disney risks alienating its core audience while failing to appease critics who find fault with the original tale. It's a lose-lose situation that highlights the challenges of modernizing classic stories without compromising their essence. The backlash against the trailer has been swift and unforgiving. Social media platforms are ablaze with criticism, with fans accusing Disney of prioritizing political messaging over storytelling. Many are questioning why Disney continues to remake beloved classics only to strip them of the very elements that made them iconic. The romantic subplot, the charm of the dwarfs, and the magical world building have all been replaced with lifeless CGI and a checklist of modern tropes. This isn't just a disappointment. It feels like a betrayal of Walt Disney's legacy. Rachel Zegler's portrayal of Snow White has also been a lightning rod for controversy. Her comments about the original story and its characters have been seen as dismissive and even disdainful. She has repeatedly criticized the prince's role, called the romance unnecessary, and advocated for a Snow White who saves herself. While these sentiments may resonate with some modern audiences, they have alienated a significant portion of the fanbase who cherished the original for its timeless themes of love, courage, and hope. Zegler's outspoken opinions, combined with the drastic changes to the story, have left fans questioning whether this is even Snow White anymore or just a generic empowerment story masquerading as a fairy tale. The reliance on CGI is another point of contention. Live-action adaptations are meant to bring animated stories to life, but this trailer feels anything but real. The lush, enchanting forests of the original have been replaced by sterile, overly polished digital landscapes. The dwarfs, once brimming with personality and charm, are now bizarre CGI creations that feel more like props than characters. This heavy use of digital effects not only undermines the promise of a live-action remake, but also disconnects viewers from the emotional core of the story. Fans are also pointing out the irony of Disney's approach. The original Snow White was created with limited technology and a modest budget, yet it remains one of the most beloved animated films of all time. In contrast, this remake has access to cutting-edge technology and a massive budget, yet it feels soulless and uninspired. Disney's obsession with CGI isn't just ruining Snow White. It's a pattern that extends to their other live-action remakes, from The Lion King to The Little Mermaid. Audiences are growing increasingly frustrated with these hollow adaptations that fail to capture the magic of the originals. The absence of the prince also speaks to a larger issue with Disney's modern adaptations. By sidelining traditional romantic dynamics, the studio is sending a message that these elements are no longer welcome in their stories. But fans argue that this approach doesn't make the story more progressive. It makes it feel incomplete. Romantic relationships have been a cornerstone of fairy tales for centuries, and removing them erodes the emotional stakes of the story. The controversy surrounding the film's budget is another factor adding to the backlash. Reports suggest that Disney has sunk hundreds of millions of dollars into this remake, yet the trailer looks cheap and uninspired. Fans are questioning whether this investment was worth it, especially given the string of box office disappointments Disney has faced with its recent live-action releases. The studio is already on thin ice with audiences, and Snow White seems poised to be another misstep in their increasingly troubled catalog. Many fans have taken to social media to voice their frustrations, with some even calling for a boycott of Disney's live-action remakes. The sentiment is clear. Audiences want adaptations that honor the spirit of the originals, not hollow cash grabs that prioritize political messaging over storytelling. The backlash against Snow White is a wake-up call for Disney. But whether the studio will listen remains to be seen. Ultimately, this remake raises a fundamental question. Why even call this Snow White if you're going to strip away everything that made it special? From the sidelining of the prince to the lifeless CGI dwarfs, from the forced feminist narrative to the gutting of the story's heart, this adaptation feels like a betrayal of everything fans loved about the original. It's a cynical cash grab that underestimates the intelligence and emotional investment of its audience. Disney's decision to remake Snow White was always going to be a risk, but the choices they've made have turned that risk into a near-certain failure. The trailer suggests a film that is disconnected from its source material, its audience, and even its own identity. Fans are left wondering if Disney has lost sight of what made their classics timeless in the first place. The backlash isn't just about this one film. It's a reflection of a broader frustration with Disney's current direction. Audiences are tired of seeing beloved stories reimagined in ways that feel shallow, forced, and out of touch. If Snow White is any indication, Disney's live-action remakes are on a path to irrelevance, and fans are running out of patience. What do you think about the new Snow White trailer? Is it a bold reinvention or just another misstep from Disney? Share your thoughts in the comments, and stay tuned for more in-depth analysis of Hollywood's biggest controversies. Don't forget to like and subscribe for the latest updates on Disney's live-action remakes and the backlash they continue to face. The conversation isn't over, and neither is the controversy surrounding Snow White. Stay tuned for more.